The purpose of this tutorial is to show you a few additional tips and tricks that may be useful to you when using the Pearson Inform. The first thing I'm going to show you is how you can export data that you've compiled within Inform into an Excel document. Let's say, for example, that you wanted to compare students' scores on their math and reading assessment. So you checked the box next to the State Math Reading 3rd grade, State Math 3rd grade, and State Reading 3rd grade assessments, and went down to take action on selected. Then you decided to choose test results by student. From here, a list of all your students as well as their scores on those two assessments appear side by side. If you wanted to look at the information in Excel and sort and filter accordingly, you could go to the upper right hand corner where it says Export to Excel. Here it will let you open up the file and save the information in an Excel document. Here you can recolor the document, sort it, and filter it to your liking. Another thing that I'd like to show you is how you can change your context within Pearson Inform. By default, the context would appear as your name here at the top, but you can actually look at the breakdown by school and grade level as well. If you click on Current Context in the upper left-hand corner, you can see here that there are different contexts to choose from. You can go into teacher context, school context, and district context as well. I'm going to go to school context here, and you can see that it will refresh to only show me the overall results of the students within that context. Going back up to the top, I can click on district, and the context will refresh to show me all of the students in the district and their overall percentages. Please note that by clicking on any one of these bars, only your students will display in the list of test results. If you're clicking on a bar for an assessment that your students did not take, no drill down results will appear. Now I'm going to show you a few things that you can do with the Strategy tab in Inform. Coming up here to the top, if you see this Strategy tab, there are a few things that may be useful to you: interventions and student groups. I'll begin by clicking on Student Groups. From here, all of the student groups will appear in a list. If you wanted to know how many of your students have been assigned to a particular group, you can select that group from the list. Here, you'll see all of your students that have been assigned to that particular group. To the right of that name of the student, there's an Edit button. By clicking on this Edit button, you can change the group entry date and the group exit date if the student is no longer part of that group. Please note that the record of the student being in that group will stay permanently within Inform. However, if you want it to be noted that the student has exited the group, this is the place where you can do that. Here to the right, there's a checkbox that says Show All Activities Assigned. If you click on this checkbox, here a number of colored dots will appear. The key to understanding these colored dots is to the right. Each of these colored dots represents one of those interventions that you can assign students to, such as Isabel Beck Vocabulary, small group instruction, and so on and so forth. Here you can see a breakdown next to each student of which interventions they're receiving. It's a quick way to see if all of your students have been assigned to the right interventions within that group. If you notice that a student here within your group is missing an intervention that you know they receive, instead of going back to add the intervention through the Test Results tab or the Students tab like I showed you before, you could actually assign them to the intervention right here. Click on one of those green plus signs to add the student to the group, or to the intervention. You could have an entry date for that intervention and an exit date, as well as a frequency and duration that the student receives that intervention and the tier. Then you can save. Once you save, the student's record of being in that intervention will appear here, and if you drill down into the student, looking at their AIP within the Students tab, you would be able to see that they are receiving that particular intervention, here in the Group and Intervention History window. Now that we've checked and we've seen that the student has been added to the correct interventions and groups, we can actually print a report. This would be useful if you'd like to give the parents of your students more information that's in Inform. Within the print option, you can select whether you'd like comments that have been added to the student's AIP to appear, or if you do not want certain comments to appear or other information from within this AIP. Once you've pulled up a student within the Students tab, if you'd like to print a report for that student, go to the upper right-hand corner where you see the printer icon. Here you'll see that you have the option of checking multiple boxes. You can choose to show the student's assessment profile, assessment data, criteria, and if you scroll down, you can see all of the available options to print. If you do not want the comments that you've typed about the student's progress to appear in a report that you'd give to parents, you can simply uncheck this box here before previewing and printing. However, if you do want the comments to appear, you can keep this box checked. Press Preview to see what it would look like, and it will open in a browser window for you as a PDF document. As you can see, all the charts and graphs, as well as the assessment history of the student, appear here. All the concept scores and overall scores appear here as well. Down here, all of the notes that have been taken regarding the student's progress will appear in this spot here. If I had unchecked the comment box, these comments would not appear here. So this tutorial has been intended to show you a few additional tips and tricks that may be useful to you when using Pearson Inform.